Welcome, everyone, to another special episode of the Living Transplant podcast. This week, I'm going to bring you behind the scenes at the Banff CST conference and introduce you to some incredible people who are presenting, all about their innovation and their exciting ideas about transplant, how to make this entire journey so much more remarkable for potential recipients and donors, caregivers and families, and patients in the system as a whole. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. I'm very excited to bring you different episodes throughout this week, so stay tuned for more content. Today, I am joined by Ghazaleh, who is joining us to talk about her presentation called I Feel More Comfortable This Way, the relationship between African, Caribbean, and Black kidney transplant candidates and recipients and their healthcare providers in living donation, a qualitative analysis. Welcome, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Candace. Thank you for having me.
I'm wondering if you can introduce yourself to our listeners today.
Absolutely. My name is Ghazaleh Ahmadzadeh, and I am a recent grad. Recently graduated from my undergrad at U of T. I have been working with Dr. Muchi's team, so under his supervision, and I've been doing some qualitative work for the past almost 2.5 years now. I have been primarily focusing on transcripts from African, Caribbean, and Black patient groups. So I have been analyzing patient transcripts, and I have been talking to other community members and really listening to their experiences and their challenges in pursuing LDKT, and not just LDKT, but kidney transplant in general and organ donation.
Amazing, thank you. I'm wondering if you can expand a little bit about that research and tell us a little bit about the presentation that you have done at the Banff CST conference and what that all entails.
My presentation today at CST was focused on the relationship between patients and their healthcare providers. And as we know, the relationship between patients and their healthcare providers is an integral aspect of their pathway in pursuing and receiving living donor kidney transplant and kidney transplant in general. Basically, in our study, we aim to explore, based on the data obtained from our participants in Toronto, Ontario, the relationship between patients and their healthcare providers and the potential implications of this relationship to LDKT, or living donor kidney transplant. Our study highlighted that ACB patients desire a respectful, open, trustworthy, and collaborative relationship with their healthcare providers, as do all patients.
Mm-hmm.
However, our analysis also suggested that these expectations are more frequently met if healthcare providers are also from ACB communities, and the absence of this relationship may prevent important conversations about kidney health and be a significant barrier to exploring and pursuing LDKT in this population.
Wonderful. And so thinking about that research, in the presentation you mentioned a very shocking statistic about the difference between white patients and the ACB community in receiving living donor kidney transplants. Can you talk a little bit about that?
The Canadian data suggests that patients of African, Caribbean, and Black descent with kidney failure are 65 to 70% less likely to receive living donor kidney transplantation compared to white patients. And this could be due to many different reasons. And in our study, we basically want to see why that is, and taking a look at it from a qualitative standpoint. So I actually submitted another abstract last year to CSC, and that abstract was focused on fears of patients, which could contribute to the disparity. The most recent abstract was focused on the relationship between healthcare providers and patients. So you could imagine that the main three, I guess, sub-themes in my recent abstract was that patients want a more person-centered approach. They want a judgment-free interaction with their healthcare providers. They want an increased representation in the healthcare system. So you could imagine that if a patient is not comfortable with their healthcare provider, if they are scared of, if they're afraid of being judged or coming across as uneducated, and so for that reason they withhold their questions, that has an implication in pursuing LDKT or kidney transplant for that matter. And this is especially important for the ACB population. They have said again and again in many of the interviews that they feel way more comfortable with a healthcare provider from their own ethnic background and somebody that looks like them, and they can break things down with them and be themselves when talking to them. So again, that's another aspect that's very, very important in the relationship between healthcare providers and patients. That is why so many of our participants have recommended or wanted greater diversity within the healthcare system.
And so you answered this a little bit in what you've spoken to, but I'm wondering if you have any ideas and if anything has come forward in your research about how to make a change in our healthcare system to make living donor kidney transplant more equitable and more accessible for all patients.
Yeah, absolutely. As I guess that's also a future direction for us in our research group. So we are hoping to use the understanding of the experiences and these expectations and desires of ACB patients to contribute to the development of interventions to improve equitable access and utilization. And we are actually currently working on a website that is meant to provide all the information necessary regarding kidney transplant, living donor kidney transplant, deceased donor kidney transplant, organ donation. And we are actually co-developing this website with ACB community members and our ACB partners. So we are getting their input, their stories, their experiences, challenges, and we're hoping that future patients or even current patients could make use of this website. We're hoping to cater this towards the ACB community. Something else that could potentially be done is healthcare providers training to improve their relationship with their patients. This training could focus on improving educational methods to skills to enhance person-centered care for physicians, and which emphasizes creation of culturally safe environments within the healthcare system.
Thank you so much for all of that information. I'm wondering if there is anything else that you would like to share with the Living Transplant podcast listeners.
It was an absolute pleasure to be on your podcast. I would really recommend for people to check out other episodes on this podcast and to check out our website, nephros.net. We have more information regarding our future work, recent publications, action project, and I think it's a great resource for everyone interested to check out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And before we leave, anyone who is listening who wants to learn more about transplant and more about stories from the ACB community and research from the community, we do have an ACB Organ Health YouTube channel through the Center for Living Organ Donation that you can check out as well. And I will put that link in this presentation as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Your presentation today was fantastic, and I'm happy that the listeners get to hear a little bit about it.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.